What's good, duelists? Happy to bring another video to you today. So I was just looking at a new post from the Yugioh org, and this was kind of just like advertisement for the new set Phantom Nightmare, which we don't actually know when it's going to come out in the TCG, but it's soon to be released in the OCG. And this announcement was for the TCG, I assume, because it's in brackets. But some things to note about this set. So I read this, and then this is what caught my eye. It was like the events of an ancient battle. Over again as a brand new world premiere pyro theme. Make sure to pick up Maze of Millennia, the new TCG set that is basically just a rebrand of Animation Chronicle for the OCG. That's basically what it is for the TCG. It's just that set redone. I imagine it'll have a lot of the same cards. One of those cards that it tells you to pick up is copies of Bonfire. So I was like, the hell is Bonfire? And why would I need to pick that up? So go researching, see what new packs are coming out in the TCG. So this is going to come out after Valiant Smashers. It's set to release on the 18th of January. So that means that Phantom Nightmare won't be coming out till at least after the 18th of January, probably a month or two after. So then I was like, what is Bonfire? And it's actually interesting that they've created another Rhoda for a different archetype, and this is for Pyros. Pyros probably traditionally are one of the worst types of all time, I would say. I don't really recall Pyros ever being like broken. Even Lavavels, they never actually took Storm. But it's cool that there's actually a new Rhoda for Bonfire. Now, I also think it's kind of interesting that like with these new Rhoda cards that they're not like making it the exact same. So because it has the clause, you can only activate one Bonfire per turn. Part of me kind of wishes that it was like fully reminiscent and that we don't make literally every card a hard once per turn in new Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, does every card need to be a hard once per turn? Do we have to add that like little line of text? Like, why not just make it good to draw multiples? Maybe because, and I don't think that'd be a justification that like a card would have to be at 1. Like if like is Rhoda at 1 because it's not a hard once per turn? Probably not. Probably just because that it makes anything like a 6 of rather than a 3 of, or now a 4 of, like with the Rescue Ace Airlifter, you can search it with Rhoda. So now basically that card's just a 4 of in your deck, right? Except you could get Droll Knockbird. So I definitely don't think that's cool, but I do think it's really cool that we're getting a Bonfire Rhoda. So for this video, we're just going to go through a lot of the cards. So I'm actually going to go through the new cards for Animation Chronicles. Because for Maze of Millennia, we don't have all the cards. This is just like a short list of the new cards. We don't have the reprints. So I just want to talk about like what got reprinted in Animation Chronicles, just in case like it could be the same. So we see like a Jet Synchron reprint. We see the Altergeist getting reprinted a lot. The Supreme cards getting reprinted. We see a new Dark World card. Gazelle, Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast gets reprinted. Just some things that you might want to be aware of. Doppel Warrior, in case you have any of these cards and you want to get rid of them. I definitely think that it's good to have a little foresight when a new set's getting released. Okay, and then Maze of Millennia. These are the guaranteed cards, but like I said, we're going to go over a lot of new cards out of Animation Chronicles, just assuming we're going to get them. Why not? No. So let's go through it. We have Photon Delta Wing. This card is normal summoned. You can special summon itself, basically, from your hand or deck in defense position. Also, you cannot special summon except light monsters. So it's a Photon card. It has a clause. While you have 2, your opponent can't declare an attack. So it's kind of reminiscent of Dupe Frog in that way. I think that's pretty cool that it can just special summon itself, be a blocker. Your opponent can't attack at all. And it's a Photon card. And it's 2 level 4s right off the bat just from itself. I think this card is actually really cool and really good. Like we went over that Photon list that just got top 8 at Regional. So definitely some potential with that. Armored XYZ. Target 1 face-up monster you control and 1 XYZ monster in your graveyard. Equip that monster to the graveyard to the other on the field as an equip spell with these effects. Okay, so this card's probably not good at all. Special summon Battle and Boxer monster from your hand. Then you can destroy spell and trap cards on the field up to the number of XY. Oh, another bad card. So we are going to see some bad cards. I'll probably just go through them real quick after I read them. I don't want to read everything out loud because I might run out of breath. But Earthbounds, I loved this archetype when it came out. I thought it looked so cool. I think it's like one of the coolest artworks for an archetype is actually the Earthbound Immortal cards. Let me know if you remember when these cards came out. They were never actually really relevant. But it's cool that they're getting a bunch of new support, so I'm really curious to see if it's actually good. If this card is normal or special summon, you can special summon one level 5 or lower Earthbound monster from your deck or graveyard, except himself. It sucks you can't special summon. Oh wait, you can't special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, except fusion and synchro monsters. So that's pretty good. Special summoning any level 5 or lower Earthbound monster from your deck is insane to me, especially just as a level 1 tuner. So that's like a level 6 synchro right there. You can only use it once per turn. Also, I like that if it's normal or special summon. Battle or card effects while this card is in a field zone. That's a weird effect. I wonder. So they all say that if this card is in a field zone, you can special summon this card from your hand. Or if a card is in a field zone, you can special summon it from your hand. You can only special summon once per turn this way. You can discard this card. You can discard, oh wow, this card. Add one level 3 or lower Fiend Tuner from your deck to your hand. So any Fiend Tuner. And then it has that clause, you can't fusion or synchro summon, so I guess that's going to be common. But this basically adds the level 1. Then the level 1 can special this, and then make a level 6 synchro. So that's pretty cool. Makes sense with the new level 1. Oh, and then here's the level 3 tuner that could also add this. This card is normal or special summon. You can add one Earthbound Prison or Harmonic Synchro Fusion from your deck to your or graveyard to your hand. If you control a level 6 or higher Earthbound monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target one opponent's effect monster special summon for the extra deck, and shuffle that effect monster into the deck. Then your opponent can special summon one monster with the same name from their extra deck. This card seems like it'd be alright versus one-ofs in the extra deck, because then they wouldn't be able to actually special it again. That monster, the effect monster into the deck. Oh, well, they just get to special the same guy. Maybe there's a trigger effect. If they special summon a monster from the extra deck, you get X effect. That's the only way I could see the second effect being good. Obviously, it's not that good if it's not. 2 Earthbound monsters, so new fusion. If this card is special summon, you can add one field spell from your deck or graveyard to your hand. So generic, search any field spell. Although we do have Majesty Pegasus that does that already. If a monster is special summoned from your opponent's extra deck, so this makes sense why the other card before it was worded that way. Definitely justifies that. You can destroy as many monsters your opponent control as possible that were special summoned this turn. If you do, inflict 800 damage to your opponent destroyed by that effect. You can only use, okay, so it just destroys it when you use the level 3 with it. And they take 800 damage. Earthbound Fusion and Earthbound Synchro, so high requirement level 10. Must be fusion summoned. At the start of the damage step, if this battles a monster, change it to 0. If an opponent's monster is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy all cards your opponent controls. That's kind of cool. If any of them are destroyed, you basically destroy everything. You can only use it once per turn. If this card in its face-up card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you can special summon one Earthbound monster from your deck or extra deck. Pretty insane that it can special summon anything. Oh, here's the level 6 that I kind of mentioned. I'm not surprised that they actually have an Earthbound level 6 synchro. During the main phase, you can target one phase-up monster your opponent controls. Your opponent chooses one of these effects for you to apply. Either destroy it or gain life points equal to that monster's attack. That kind of sucks that we can't just destroy it. They get to choose if we gain life points. That'd be so interesting in time. Like, bro, you gotta destroy it because you can't let me gain life. During the battle phase, quick effect, you can fusion summon one Earthbound fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials mentioned on it from your hand, field, or graveyard. That's actually pretty broken for going second. You can only use each effect once per turn, but this is probably more so just fodder for the fusion that we just saw to be summoned, the Servant Yugioh Grasha. Then a level 8 Earthbound Synchro, 1 Dark Tuner. So this one's generic, just 1 Dark Tuner or 1 non-tuner. Quick effect, you can special summon 1 Earthbound monster from your graveyard in defense position except itself. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except same. If this card in its owner's possession is destroyed, you can destroy 1 card on the field, then inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each Earthbound monster. You can only... Okay, so this card's not that good. It is generic. It does do some damage, so it's a time card. Woo woo. Then the field spell, so Earthbound Prison. When this card is activated, you can target 1 effect monster your opponent controls. This card gains this effect while this card is in the field zone. Negate that effect monster's effects, so that's kind of plus. It negates something. During your main phase, you can normal summon 1 Earthbound, so double summon effect. I hate, I just mentioned with Rescue HQ. I do not think double summon is a good card or has ever been a good card, so adding it to a field spell isn't really that relevant to me. If this card is in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, I can have your opponent's life points negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls to the end of the turn. Not the best card. So these Earthbound cards are seeming very underwhelming. Send 2 face-up monsters you control to the graveyard, 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner. Special summon 1 fusion monster and 1 synchro monster from your extra deck that can be fusion and synchro summoned using only those 2 monsters in the graveyard as a material. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck the turn you activate this card except fusion and synchro monsters. So it's a harmonic card, so it doesn't actually have Earthbound in the name, but it's kind of entangled with that deck, the Earthbound archetype. You can only activate 1 per turn. So this card actually seems really cool. 1 tuner and 1 non-tuner, special summon 1 fusion. That's crazy. This card is actually kind of crazy. So you would send like the level 5 and the level 1 to summon the synchro and the fusion. You could send you would basically just special this and the synchro off that 1 card. So just that and the level 1 gets you to this, the synchro and the other fusion that I just showed. That's pretty crazy. I definitely think this is a cool card. Maybe it not being searchable could be a hindrance, but I think this card's actually really sweet. I mean, using 2 cards to fusion and synchro summon is pretty cool. Phoenix Gearblade, equipped only to a warrior or fire monster, so it's a new equip card for nobles. Let's go. It gains 300 attack. If it attacks, you can send this card to the graveyard. Wow, all of your fire warrior and fire monsters can make a second attack during this battle phase. Probably not that broken in modern day Yu-Gi-Oh, but that is a really cool effect. This card is sent to the graveyard or banished to activate a monster effect. You can add it to your hand. Oh, kind of reminiscent of the other Phoenix equip spell, being that it can add itself back to your hand. So that's pretty cool. I love the nostalgia with new cards. Drastic Draw, new Allure of Darkness maybe, or Destiny Draw. Banish all monsters you control, minimum 2, draw 3 cards. You cannot normal or special summon monsters the turn you activate this card, except Cyber's monsters. You can only activate 1 Drastic Draw per turn. This card seems crazy. Being that there's already that Link Cyber's package that draws cards, when we saw it with the a long time ago with the Eldritch deck, the Eldritch Cyber's package for Predaplant. This card seems like it would be crazy with that because it's just Ultra Plus. You're really just digging through your deck. Obviously, it kind of does have some high standards to summon, but versus Cyber's deck, I don't see this card being that bad. Digging 3 cards, especially if they have effects when they're banished, seems pretty broken to me. Transaction Rollback. Pay half your life points, then target 1 normal trap in your opponent's graveyard. This effect becomes that effect. You can banish this card from your graveyard and pay half your life points, then target 1 normal trap in your graveyard. This effect becomes that normal trap when that card is activated. Wow, so this card kind of has some application if you milled it. Because obviously the first effect is probably irrelevant in modern day Yu-Gi-Oh! But banishing it from your graveyard and pay half to activate 1 normal trap in your graveyard, that kind of seems pretty cool. Like, activate D-Barrier, banish this to activate D-Barrier. Kind of seems insane in like a tier deck, maybe. Definitely not like the worst card. I think the graveyard effect is actually really cool. Code Hack. Cyber's Link monsters you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Once per turn during the battle step, if your monster battles an opponent's monster, you can change that opponent's monster's attack to 0. If you do, neither player can be true. Okay, so this card's just kind of irrelevant to me. Horned Saurus, a new fusion dinosaur. Kim Petrus. What is this? If your opponent controls, so this is the first requirement for fusion fodder for this monster. If your opponent controls 2 or more face-up non-win monsters, those monsters cannot target this card for attacks. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. During your main phase, you can add 1 polymerization from your deck to your hand. If this card is banished, you can... Okay, so you can use both effects, I was just making sense. If this card is banished, you can special summon it, then you can add 1 polymerization from your graveyard to your hand. This card seems kind of broken. Or at least really, really good. Like, I mean, it adds polymerization, and then it adds a polymerization again, so it's kind of +1. Let's see how good the fusion is. This monster, and was that dinosaur or dragon? Dinosaur. Level 4 dinosaur 1. This card can attack directly the turn it is special summon. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If this card is fusion summoned, you can place 1 field spell from your deck or graveyard in your field zone. During your main phase, you can immediately after this effect resolves normal summon 1 dinosaur or dragon monster. This card's kind of hype. I'm definitely excited to see like how this card's actually used, because I definitely don't think the effect is very like that bad. Especially the level 4. That seems really good. Oh, this card is really weird to me because I was like, isn't there a number 1 in that deck that OTKs, the FDK Numeron deck? And there is. So they're making 2 number 1s. So if you're a card collector collecting all the numbers, I didn't actually know that there would be a reprint of number 1s. Like, I did not expect there could be 2 number 1s. So that's kind of annoying. I don't like, my OCD does not like that. Once per turn, it's a rank 8 fiend type, 2 level 8 monsters. Once per turn during your standby phase, you can attach 1 card to your opponent's graveyard to this card as material. You can only use each effect once per turn. If this card is XYZ summoned, you can look at your opponent's extra deck and send 1 card from it to the graveyard. That's pretty good when you actually think about the Horus cards. You know, just get like kind of ghost cherries your opponent. You can detach 1 material from this card, then target 1 card your opponent controls, destroy it. Then if you destroy a face-up monster, inflict damage. So it's also a time burn card going second. Your main phase, obviously. I don't think this card's that bad. I kind of think it's actually a good rank 8, especially it being generic. The attaching 1 card from your opponent's graveyard as a material seems pretty irrelevant to me, but maybe you get rid of some fusion fodder versus like Tearlaments, since you send it to the graveyard. Combat Wheel, level 6 Synchro. 1 tuner, 1 non-tuner, generic. The first time this card would be destroyed by an opponent's card effect each turn, it is not destroyed. Once per opponent's battle phase, probably an irrelevant effect. This card with the counter is destroyed by battle. Alright, so this card just sucks. Maybe it's relevant as a machine, level 6 Earth Synchro. This card I have actually seen played in lots of OCG decks, so I'm excited to see what it does. Shoka Pilar. If this card is summoned, you can add 1 equip spell from your deck to your hand. Then if this card is in attack position, change it to defense position. You can only use each effect once per turn. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, take 2,000 damage. So I actually think the second effect makes it better, just when I think about like the level 8 Blackwing Synchro for Tearlaments that when you take damage, you mill more cards, like with Zephyros and stuff. That's what you kind of were required to trigger it. So I think cards that like you take damage could actually have more application than cards where you don't take damage, because damage is kind of irrelevant unless you're dying, especially with a card like this. So I think that's really cool that it just burns yourself. And then it adding any equip spell from your deck to your hand and being a level 3, I mean, just going +1 Rhoda for equip spells, I think that's a great addition to the game. I always love generic searchers like that. It being an Earth Rock is also interesting. Maybe for the, what's it called? The Block Dragon deck, Emancipators. I definitely think this card is has a lot of application to it. Sabrera Stone. If this card is summoned, you can add 1 triangle O from your deck to your hand. Change it to defense. This card is another burn card. Triangle O, basically what it adds. If you control a Crystal Skull, yo, shout out Indiana Jones, Crystal Skull. Love that movie. If you control Crystal Skull, Pillar, or so basically the monsters or Crystal Skull, destroy all cards on the field. Also this turn, your opponent takes any effect damage you would have taken instead. Wow, so we got a new burn strategy, basically like that trap card from Master Duel. If you remember that your opponent takes the damage you would have taken. That's actually pretty cool. And it makes sense. Like I said, usually with cards that you take damage, there's going to be some application that's just better than if it didn't say that, and then we see that applied with the spell card for the archetype. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one of those cards, shuffle them into the... Wait, what? Then draw 3 cards? You can only use... And there's no restriction? This seems insane. If you control what? You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one of those cards, shuffle them into the deck, and we just saw this is a Rhoda for that card. So this adds Triangle O. Okay, so this adds Triangle O. You link this into like a Link Rebo or Anima or something. And then you can banish this card. Okay, and it has a hard once per turn. So you would ideally discard this somehow and just use this graveyard effect. Because, I mean, what is that? That's better than Pot of Grief. That's +2. You add this, discard it somehow, banish it, and then target the one in your graveyard, shuffle them both into the deck. Draw 3 cards, you rotated into this, so that's literally +2. I don't know, this card's kind of scary. Drawing 3 cards is definitely scary to me, especially at just the cost of a normal summon. That's a lot of digging. I definitely could see this just being in like some, trap deck, for example. Especially anything that discards cards, like the Horus cards could combo with this, for example. Yeah, I don't know. Even Baron, pop it, a lot of applications for that. Trap card Totem Pole. Your opponent cannot target rock monsters. You control 0 original attack with card effects. Negate an attack, Scrap Iron, Scarecrow. Okay. Oh, wow. So it doubles any damage your opponent takes if you control 3 or more rock monsters with 0 attack, and these all have 0 attack. So there's some FTK potential with burning. I kind of like that strat, even though it's degenerate. I do think it's cool. When a level 6 or higher Earthbound release, so a trap for the Earthbound archetype, when a level 6 or higher monster is normal or special summoned, tribute 1 level 10 Earthbound monster, destroy as many monsters your opponent controls as possible, and if you do, inflict damage to them equal to the destroyed monster's total original attack. That's a lot of burn damage. Let me just say that. We already saw Bonfire. We already went over the new set. We just went over this guy that adds Poly. Ooh, a new Dark World Fusion. I wanted to mention this card because it uses this card that's old as hell. It came out of the Neos, Strike of Neos. And it's actually not that bad of a card when I reread it. But it basically uses that plus 2 Fiend monsters, level 12 Dark Fusion with question marks. If this card is fusion summoned, you can destroy all cards your opponent controls. This card's original attack and defense become the number of fusion materials used for its summon times 1,000, so usually 3,000 we would assume. But kind of like Chimera, we could get it to 8,000 in attack per game. Once per turn, quick effect, you can target one face. So also interesting with that, I'm pretty sure you can future fusion this and dump like infinite fiends from your deck to your graveyard. Probably not with the errata of future fusion, now that I think about it, because I forgot that card was errated. But OG days, you could have done that, and this card would be kind of broken, right? Like a new Cyber Dragon archetype, but for fiends and Dark Worlds, that seems pretty cool. But just to note that you could do a lot of monsters. Once per turn, you can target one face-up card. Quick effect, once per turn, you can target one card you control, discard one card. Your opponent cannot target that face-up card with card effects this turn. I think this effect's actually pretty good. It might go underrated. But when you use like this with Grapha, I mean, it's basically just quick effect, pop a card. So I think that's pretty cool. And then we have Eye of Illusion for the new Illusion archetype. If you control an Illusion or Spellcaster type monster, activate one of these effects. Your Illusion and Spellcaster monsters can't be destroyed by battle this turn. During your opponent's turn, target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Take control of it till the end phase. During your opponent's turn. That's weird. If you control an illusion, activate during your opponent's turn. So I'm assuming this will be a quick effect. You can just take control of one of your opponent's monsters until the end phase during their turn. which actually is a really good effect if you can activate it on both turns. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, target one face-up monster your opponent controls, except the attack and change the attack target and perform damage. So this third effect is pretty irrelevant. I imagine we would just use the first and second effect. Probably just the second effect. The second effect seems like the best part. Maybe if the first two effects were better, this card would be better. But I think that's a quick rundown of what we could expect maybe out of so that's what is in Animation Chronicles, and some of the cards that may be in Maze of Millennia. A lot of these cards will be, obviously. We just saw the Eye of Illusion right here, and we see the Bonfire right here. So a lot of these cards are going to be coming out. The Earthbound Archetype, I think I see it in the background. So exciting stuff. If you enjoyed this rundown of what potential new cards are going to be good out of this set, I know it's 3 months away. Maybe it's too early. Just let me know. I appreciate any criticisms you could give. And have a great day, duelists.